Hi, welcome to a class from twopeasinabucket.com on stamping on transparencies. This is the first video of a three-part video series, and you can find all the videos on twopeasinabucket.com. This first video is just basic stamping on transparencies, mostly using White Staz-On Ink. This is the layout that I did using these techniques, and you can see all the different shapes on the side of this layout that have been stamped with White Staz-On Ink, just on plain old transparency that I've cut into shapes. Now the first tip is just basic stamping on clear pieces with the White Staz-On Ink. This is just a clear stamp from Hero Arts. You can see it's dirty, but that's okay. Clear stamps will stain by nature, but they still will stamp just fine. And I'm just using the White Staz-On Ink to stamp a pattern onto this clear circle. Now I just punched this circle from some acetate. I like to use acetate that you can find in the scrapbooking world because it's nice and clear and heavy. These are just cut from some Hero Arts note cards. So after I've stamped my pattern onto it, I'm just going to rub the edge of the white ink pad onto it just to define the edges a little bit. Now White Staz-On Ink is a little bit sticky. If you have trouble holding it and don't want to get fingerprints, you can use tweezers or just have it stuck to the sticky part of a post-it note, but I tend to just use my fingers because it's quick and easy to do. Now if you notice, I've got White Staz-On Ink on my stamp and on my the clear mount that the stamp is on, and I want to get that off. I use the Hero Arts Ultra Clean, which is just a good cleaner for clear stamps, and it takes Staz-On off. I know there's other brands of clear stamp cleaner that work like this. I just have this one, and it's carried at 2 peas in a bucket. So you can see it just comes off real easily, and now I'm just wiping off the cleaner with a baby wipe. The next tip is to show that you can use some clear stamp cleaners to clean off any mistakes that you make with Staz-On Ink. I used to think that once you stamp it with Staz-On Ink, you're pretty much set, but actually the cleaner will clean it off. So you can see here I'm just spraying it, wiping it off, and it's perfectly clear again and ready to restamp. Now this next tip, it just shows you that when you stamp on a clear acetate and put it over colored cardstock, it just shows up a lot more vivid than stamping with White Staz-On Ink directly onto the cardstock. So you can see the difference there. Now this is just how to care for your White Staz-On Ink pads. Staz-On Ink pads come with this clear protective lid that's inside the regular lid. You want to keep it because it helps it last longer. So I just have glue dots inside the lid that holds that plastic lid in place. So I don't have to fuss with it, but it's always there. Now White Staz-On Inks need to be re-inked very, very often. It's why it comes with the re-inker, unlike many other inks. So I generously apply it almost every time that I use the ink pad. So I just squirt it on there quickly. And then I use my acrylic mount that's meant for clear stamping to just spread the ink around. Now after I've done this, I want to get that Staz-On Ink off the mount really quickly, and you can get it off with a baby wipe like I am here. And if some of it stays behind like it does on the corner here, you can just use that spray cleaner to get it off. Here are some tips for creatively adhering clear things onto your layout. You can see I've stamped several images here using Fontwork stamps, Hero Art stamps, and some Autumn Leaves clear stamps. And so here I love to take my clear stamp pieces and mount them with foam dots, because you can see if you look there's a little bit of a shadow that it leaves, and it just gives nice dimension. So I like to hide the foam dots underneath other things so it looks like the stamped transparencies are just floating. Another way that you can creatively hide the adhesive is to use other accents. These are just dots from Heidi Swap, and I'm just putting some glue dots behind it so it's holding this transparent piece in place. Now for this piece, I'm going to hide just my regular adhesive underneath this felt fish shape accent. So I just glued it right on top, and now I can put a foam dot underneath the felt fish. So again, it looks like it's floating, but you can't see the adhesive. Now there's all kinds of great adhesives out there that are clear and good for using transparencies, but I like to keep my supply simple, and so I'm just look for creative ways to use the adhesives I already have. And here you can just see that I hid the adhesive for this transparent circle underneath my photo, so you can tuck it behind other things on the layout too. You can also use any kind of liquid glue. Here I used a liquid glue right behind the stamped image, and it's going to take a while for it to dry, but generally it'll dry pretty clear. Now here are just a few random tips that have nothing to do with stamping on transparency, but are fun little tips about this layout. Here's one of the trims from Doodlebug, and it was like a light red and I want it to be more vibrant. So I'm just covering it with some chalk ink, some red chalk ink from Colorbox, and you can see it changes colors and now it matches my layout. So you can change a lot of different accents simply by covering it with ink. Now, I don't do a whole lot of distressing, I'm just not very good at it, but one of the things I like to do to add a little dimension is just scratch the edge of cardstock with my fingernails. There's lots of tools for doing this, but me, I just like to use my good old fingernail. Just easy and lazy way to do it. Now here's the completed layout. You can see how the white Staz-On stamped on the transparencies just gives a really nice accent that's not too distracting from the photos. You can do this also with stamping with black Staz-On and other colors of Staz-On, or with acrylic paints. Now if you want more information on this layout or what I used on it, you can visit twopeasinabucket.com and be sure to come back to watch the other videos. Thanks for peeking in.